Hey there, welcome back to another vlog. Haven't done one of these in a while, and there's a handful of stuff that I picked up recently on DVD and Blu-ray, and there's a few things I wanted to discuss with you in terms of what's coming next on the channel, and so on and so forth. Give my thoughts on a few things, like the Comedy Central Roast of Bruce Willis, yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to start with the Blu-ray, the only Blu-ray set I'm going to show for this particular vlog. Mission Impossible, the 5-movie collection. I've been wanting to get my hands on this because I'm a fan of Tom Cruise. I like these movies. And I've been wanting to upgrade my DVDs from standard, DVDs to Blu-rays. And this isn't the original release that came out around the time of Rogue Nation's home video release. That's why you have a different cover art. And that's why you have these really generic, boring blue Blu-rays with the titles and everything. But they're still in HD, they're still remastered, and they still have the same features. So it's the same set, it's just a little bit more compact, and it has a more boring cover art and a few things. But honestly, though, I kind of don't mind this. Actually, I kind of don't mind this cover versus the one that was on the original release. I got this because I want to revisit the Mission Impossible movies. I want to revisit them in HD and then also give my thoughts on them on the channel. So that's one of the things that's going to be coming up fairly soon, is reviews of the Mission Impossible movies. If I can, apparently it's impossible for me to say Mission Impossible. But yeah, I'm going to be doing reviews of these films coming up pretty soon. I watched the first 4 recently again, and haven't checked out Rogue Nation yet, but I'm going to check that out pretty soon, and as well as Fallout whenever I get the chance. So after I see Fallout, I will sit down and record reviews for all 6 and post them on this channel whenever possible. So yeah, it's been fun revisiting this franchise. Mission Impossible 2 was way worse than I remember it being. Mission Impossible 3 is still the most underrated film of the franchise. The first movie I liked a lot more than I thought I would because I had not seen it in so long. And Ghost Protocol I actually liked a little bit more this time around. But ultimately I still think it's okay, and I think it's a little bit overrated. But I still liked it. I thought it was alright. Rogue Nation, though, I'm really looking forward to watching again because I really like that one. So, and I did not have that. So, now I have it in this set. So that's the Mission Impossible films. The next are just a bunch of DVDs I got from various different places, from buybacks, from a record shop, from Goodwill, from some purchases from different sellers online, and even from a website called Hamilton Book. And I knew nothing about this site until acquaintance of mine on a Facebook group let me in on it, and I checked it out, and I got some really good deals on some stuff. And Hamilton Book, I'm just going to say it right now, it's a really nice resource for collectors. You can get some really good deals on stuff. Right now, they have the 70s horror anthology Asylum available on their website from Severin on Blu-ray for $10. You can't beat that deal. That's a really good deal. So if you want to save a few bucks, pick that up if you're a fan of the film from Hamilton Book. Also, they had at one point in time, they had Demon Wind. They also had a few other titles. So keep an eye out on it, because they have a lot of affordable prices on there, and they come out with some really hard to find stuff or newer Blu-rays and stuff for good prices. So yeah, but the first title I'm going to show is Hard Rock Zombies. This is a film that's been on my wish list for a long time on Amazon, because I saw this for the first time a long time ago, and when I was still doing the heavy metal horror series, and I really had a blast with this. It was one of those just so bad it's good movies, and I wanted to get my hands on the film, And finally, I have it. I have it on DVD. I got it from a seller off eBay for a fairly affordable price. It was like $7 or something plus like shipping. I didn't pay that much for this. It was an affordable price since this is out of print. This has not been in print since 2004, so this is a fairly hard to find DVD. Now, essentially, this is just a VHS rip put on a DVD, but it's still decent quality for what it is. Honestly, though, I would love to see this get a release on Blu-ray with interviews of the cast and crew, with the soundtrack available separately, you know, commentary with the director. But until then, this has a special place in my collection for sure. Hard Rock Zombies. There's another film that had been on my wish list on Amazon, Awakenings, with Robert De Niro and Robin Williams. I'm a big fan of both actors, and I've been trying to get my hands on the film to upgrade a VHS that I had, and picked it up at Goodwill. It's a good price. It was like $3, and the disc had no scratches on it at all. So, yeah, Awakenings. Got Protector with Mario Van Peebles and Randy Quaid and Ray Dong Chong. I got a Heavy Metal Apocalypse. Now, this is Deathgasm, because Walmart, they were a bunch of pussies and could not put the film on the shelf with the title Deathgasm. I think they did it for like a week, and then a bunch of people moaned and pissed and moaned and complained about it, which I don't know why. It's stupid. It's a fucking movie. And it's not like Deathgasm is a real word. Apparently, death offended so many Walmart shoppers that they took it off the shelf and rebranded it as Heavy Metal Apocalypse. But it's the same film as Deathgasm, and it's uncut. It has all the features and so on and so forth. And I got it for brand new, like for $3 off HamiltonBook.com. This is another title I got off a Hamilton book, Deadly Dreams. This is a Code Red release. It was like, I got it for like, what, $5 or something? I got it for a good deal. This has an interview with the director and an interview with the writer. And it has a remaster print of the film. Got it for the 80s horror film collection. Also, I've always liked this cover. I mean, the movie more than likely probably will suck, but I've always liked this cover art, and I have it on VHS, but I wanted to upgrade it to DVD, and got it for a good price. Got Catch the Heat, which is a not very well-known action movie, and I don't know whether it's for a good reason or not, because I haven't seen it, but I've always been kind of curious about this for some reason, and I finally got the copy that was at buybacks for years. This particular copy was on their shelf for years. I just didn't want to pay $4 for it. So they ultimately, though, threw this in the bargain rack, and I was like, $1, I'm all in. So that's Catch the Heat. We have Exorcism, which is a cheap jack horror film. I got it because Tony Burton is in it. Duke from the Rocky films. That's the only reason why I got it, just to see what his performance is like. Then I got this double feature of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and Hey Arnold the Movie. I mean, 2 movies for $1. I mean, it's a pretty good deal. Then I got The Cotton Club, which is a notorious box office bomb directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Stars Richard Gere, Gregory Hines, Diane Lane, Bob Hoskins, James Remar, Nicolas Cage, Fred Gwynne. And there's a crazy behind-the-scenes story of how this film was financed, and there was like murder and all kinds of intrigue. And I watched the trailer on this DVD, and I was really impressed. It looked great. The production and art design was spectacular. It had a great cast. I'm actually looking forward to checking this out. I don't think it looks that bad. I mean, yeah, I mean, from the review here, audacious, buoyant, and breathtaking, I mean, it definitely looked like that from the trailer, so I'm glad to pick that up. And for a good price too. It was $1, so it was at the bargain rack at buybacks. This is another bargain rack find. Double feature with Frozen in Fear and Danger Beneath the Sea. And we have Firing Line with Shannon Tweed and Red Brown and TNT Jackson. Forgive some sniffling here and there, like my nose is running. I think my allergies are coming back. The Kindred, The Embraced, which is a miniseries that starred C. Thomas Howell and a bunch of other people. We have The Unspoken Truth, which is based on a true story. And I was curious about this because I never heard of this one. It's a TV movie, and it's got Robert Englund and Leah Thompson. But it's also got James Marshall in it from Gladiator, which is a boxing movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. And he was also in a few other things. So yeah, Robert Englund and Leah Thompson together in a movie. Who would have thunk it, right? Who would have thunk it? Election with Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon, because I heard a lot of good things about it. Botched with Stephen Dorff, the uncut version. Looked like it might be kind of a fun movie. Fist of Honor with Sam Jones. Fatal Error with Antonio Sabato Jr. and Janine Turner. Stephen King's The Shining, the miniseries. It's $1, super cheap. Give it a watch someday down the road. Film Geek. I got it because I want to see it for the video rental sequences, because this deals with a guy who worked at a video rental store, and he's got all these like VHS tapes in there and so on and so forth. So I just want to see it for that aspect, you know, for the video rental nostalgia. But honestly, and I only got it because it was like in the bargain rack at buybacks. It's just one of those films that, I don't know, it seems a little bit obnoxious. The lead guy seems like he's just annoying, and I wasn't really big on the trailer. But I'll give it a watch sometime. And I'll give it a fair shake, because it's a low-budget independent movie. Fire Trap with Dean Cain. Saw the trailer for this. Looks like a pretty solid direct-to-video action movie. Got a ECW pay-per-view. CyberSlam 99. This one has Jerry Lynn versus Yoshiro Tajiri, Nova and Chris Chetty versus Rod Price and Skull Von Crush. What kind of name is that? Skull Von Crush? Super Crazy versus Moscow de la Merced, Taka Michinoku versus Papi Chulo, Rob Van Dam versus Too Cold Scorpio, Taz versus Chris Candido, Shane Douglas versus Just Incredible, and the Dudley Boys, and Mr. Mustafa versus New Jack, Balls Mahoney, and Axel Rotten. So it's an ECW pay-per-view before they were bought out by WWE. Deadly Voyage with Omar Epps, an HBO original movie. Postmortem with Charles Sheen. Oh, Charlie Sheen. I know on the VHS I have, though, it says Charles Sheen, because he wanted to be known as a more serious actor at this point in time. Charles Sheen. Not Charlie Sheen, Charles Sheen. He wanted to be known as a more serious actor in a film directed by Ali Poontang, Albert Pyun himself. Yeah, great. Good luck with that, Charles. Just getting them out here, so just a few more DVDs. Orgasmo, the unrated special edition. I had it on VHS, so wanted to pick up the DVD. It's got an orgy of bonus features, so that should be fun to check out. Home Alone 2 and Lost in New York. Yeah, I'm not as big of a fan of this as I used to be, but I can watch it. I think if I re-reviewed this, I would bump it up to a 3-star flick, because to be honest, I really do like a decent amount of things about this movie. I love the trap sequences and stuff like that in the abandoned house, and I like Tim Curry and the whole stuff in the hotel. So there's some fun to be had with it, but essentially it is a rehash of the first movie. It's a total cash grab. It's a total cash in. But for like 50 cents, it was 50 cents, so I was like, sure, why not? I also got Raw Meat. Heard about this one, never seen it. It's got Donald Pleasance. It's directed by Gary Sherman, who directed Poltergeist 3. And I think he also directed Wanted Dead or Alive. So yeah, Raw Meat. Just some like cannibals underground or something like that in the tunnels in London. And I'm just grabbing this real quick because this is one of my favorite finds from my hunts in the wild recently. Amityville, A New Generation. You won't believe how much I paid for this. 50 cents. 2 quarters. 2 quarters. And this is out of print. Not going to get a release anytime soon. Not the greatest movie in the world, but it's 50 fucking cents. And it's an out of print DVD. I mean, that's a killer deal. You can't beat that. You cannot beat that deal. So now I have, other than the Amityville remake, which I haven't gotten on DVD yet, and the new one that came out, Awakening, and the other, and I'm not counting the fucking unofficial Amityville movies because there's far too many of those. But other than Awakening and the remake, I have every single Amityville film on DVD now. Crazy, huh? Oh, actually, except for Amityville Curse. I don't have the Amityville Curse on DVD because that's an overseas release. But I have that on VHS. But I have all of the ones that were released in the US on DVD. The first film, the second one, the third one, Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes with the Killer Floor Lamp. The fifth one is Amityville Curse, and I have that on VHS from Vidmark. Then you had Amityville 1992, It's About Time, and then you had A New Generation, and then you have Dollhouse, and then you have the remake, which I don't have yet. But yeah. So maybe one of these days I might revisit the Amityville franchise. So I got Amityville New Generations, 50 cents, killer deal. Another really good deal was this. I paid $2 each for these. So I paid a total of $6 for the entire series. I've heard a lot of good things about this anime from a lot of different people, from friends of mine, from all over the place, at college, on Facebook, and I was like, sure, why not for $2? Sure. Avatar, The Last Airbender. So this is book 1, Water. This is book 2, Earth, and this is book 3, Fire. So I got all 3 of these in really good shape. The discs aren't scratched or anything, on DVD for $6. That's another deal that's hard to beat. So yeah, I got the Avatar series, and then I also picked up a show that looks to be really promising, Crime Story, the complete series. This features the acting debut of Dennis Farina, and look at this cast. You got Andrew Dice Clay, David Caruso, Julia Roberts, Gary Sinise, Kevin Spacey, Steven Weber, Ving Rhames, Lorraine Bracco, Michael Madsen, Pam Grier, Laura San Giacomo, Stanley Tucci, David Hyde Pierce, Deborah Harry, and more. And this was produced by Michael Mann. It was his follow-up to Miami Vice. So yeah, really curious about this series. I first heard about it when I was looking at some VHS rips of advertisements on YouTube and commercial breaks and stuff like that, and they showed a little promo for this series, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, it looks like it might be good. What is that? And my Crime Story, okay. And then I saved up and then picked it up on DVD. This, though, I think this doesn't have... This is the complete series, but this was released originally by Anchor Bay, if I remember correctly, or Image Entertainment. It was released for Image Entertainment originally, and this is bare bones. I think the Image Entertainment releases on DVD had some features. I'm not sure about that, though, but I think they did. And to be honest, the picture quality is not the best on these. So this could use a remaster or a re-release somewhere. Because what it has right now is not really the best in the world. Then I couldn't believe I got this for as cheap as I got it from Hamilton Book. Black Scorpion, the television series, the complete series from New Concord Entertainment. This is Black Scorpion, the TV series, starring Michelle Lentil. I got this because, yes, it's a campy, corny, cheap show that is essentially just a ripoff of the 60s Batman TV show. But I have fond memories watching this when I was a kid on Sci-Fi Channel. So I've been wanting to revisit this for a while, as well as the movies that inspired it. And so this is totally camp, 100% inspired by Batman. I mean, there's even a guy who's essentially just Two-Face, and the same kind of quite campy, corny villains. But I mean, it's hard to believe that this is a New Concord box set, because New Concord is not known for putting a lot of effort into stuff, and they're used to being pretty cheap. This is really well put together. This is pretty fancy smancy for New Concord. It's a really well put together set with all different types of cover art and stuff like that. Yeah, that's not Harley Quinn, but it's clearly supposed to be. And then, yeah, you got each disc has artwork on it, and this was brand new old stock from Hamilton Book. If you go on eBay right now, you're not gonna get this for $10. So if you are a fan of this series, if you enjoy Black Scorpion, or you just like looking at Michelle Lentil, pick this up from Hamilton Book, because they still have old stock, brand new old stock of this set, and it's $10. It's a deal you can't beat, really. So that's it for my DVDs and stuff. I want to talk about some books real quick that I read. We have Showgirls, Teen Wolves, and Astro Zombies. This is a book by Michael Adams. This is all right. This had been on my wish list for a long time on Amazon, and I picked it up recently. I think it was like a month ago or something, on, in book format, of course, because it's a book. But I picked it up at Goodwill, and it was like $3 or something, so it wasn't like I paid that much for it. And it was worth a read once, because there were some nice tidbits of information and research that Michael Adams put into the book and everything. And it was, I was definitely interested in seeing how the journey would end, because the whole thing is, he spends a full year watching every bad movie he possibly can. So he gets recommendations from different people that he knows in the industry, and so on and so forth, and friends of his, and he sets up this thing called Bad Movie Bingo, where he has like an old bingo machine with all these different numbers, and a number correlates to a marathon of bad movies. And there's some fun to be had with the book, but to be honest, I was disappointed by this when it comes to the review portions. The reviews of these films were really, honestly, pretty bad most of the time. They were your typical lazy retelling of the film's plot, not adding much else in terms of personal opinion on it, throwing out some quotes, throwing out, mentioning a few scenes that were pretty bad, but not really going super in depth. There's a few reviews that were in depth and seemed to be like legitimate reviews, but a lot of ones were just kind of rambling, or just quoting the film, or just retelling the plot. And I'm sorry, retelling the plot is not a movie review. That's just retelling the plot. That's a review of the plot. That's not reviewing the entire movie, and that was just disappointing, to be perfectly honest. So the review aspects of this were pretty weak. It was nice to see some of the personal anecdotes from Michael during the process, like how his wife's reacting to things, what's going on in his personal life. But at times that kind of started to dominate the book, and I really started to just skim through that to get to the parts where he's watching the bad movies again. The best parts of this, though, are his research, some of the interviews he gets with some of the people involved with some of these bad movies. But overall, if you're a fan of B movies, check it out sometime for cheap. If you're not, I probably wouldn't suggest like going out of your way to get this. disappointing, but still worth a read. Still worth a read. The other books I want to talk about are 2 comic books that were sent to me by, I think it was Adam. I think it was Adam Watson who sent me these a while back. We have Night of the Living Deadpool. I'm a huge Deadpool fan, and this is a fun read, but it wasn't particularly that funny. That's one thing that I feel was sorely lacking here. You got Deadpool, and there was a few lines here and there that were funny, but I don't know. It wasn't really particularly that funny. I thought the laugh ratio was pretty low. I like the art style. It's black and white with Deadpool's red suit, so I think that's pretty cool. And his yellow speech bubbles stand out as well. The plot was alright. Some of the bits of gore were cool. Like this shot right here. Deadpool holding a bunch of severed heads. But the ending, I didn't really like the ending. It was like a cliffhanger where now everybody's Deadpool and everybody has his conscience and all the zombies are Deadpool apparently. I don't know. That was just weird. There was an interesting moment where he actually did become a zombie briefly, which I thought was a nice touch. But yeah, it was all right. I'm glad Adam sent it to me because I'm a huge Deadpool fan. I don't take any Deadpool comics. Hey, if you got any Deadpool trade paperbacks or comics lying around you don't want, let me know. I'll gladly take them off your hands. But the one I really wanted to talk about is this, Severed, by Scott Snyder, Scott Tuft, and Attila Futaki. This was fantastic. This is a really great horror comic. Had some great visuals, creepy visuals in it, intensity. I like the artwork. I like the art style. And the story was really well done. Very well done in terms of storytelling. And the characters were well written and everything. Just overall, just a really solid horror comic. And I can already see this being adapted into a miniseries on Netflix or HBO or a movie, an independent film or something. There's a lot of potential here because the main chunk of the story takes place in the early 1900s, which gives it this unique mood and atmosphere. It's a nice throwback horror piece. There aren't that many horror films that I can think of that take place in the early 1900s, so I think that would be really cool to see. Also, you have opportunity to do more stories that take place after the events of the early 1900s, because there's a cliffhanger at the end of the story which takes place in the 50s. It starts out in the 50s, and then because it's the older narrator talking about what happened when he was a kid. So you could easily have a companion series which could then show what would happen after in the 50s. You know, he's an older man and now the horror has returned. This felt a lot like Clive Barker or Stephen King in terms of the storytelling and stuff like that. And there's a particular... The look of this old man is, for me personally, it's very unassuming, but I can already see an actor like Harry Dean Stanton playing this role, or Bruce Dern. I could totally see it. So, yeah, it deals with intense subject matter, a cannibal who's eating kids, so... Yeah, really well written, really well put together. Definitely has a lot of unsettling moments. So thanks, Adam, for sending this, and I definitely recommend any horror fan, especially a fan of horror comics, to check out Severed. Alright, now we get to the point where I talk about some stuff that I watched recently. I checked out the first 4 seasons of Broad City. I did that because I like the two gals who are the leads in that show. I saw a few episodes of the show before, and I liked what I saw. And I'm glad I checked it out, but after season 2, it really starts to go downhill because the show seems to get overly political. The two leads seem to really just inject way too much of their personal political biases into the show, and it just doesn't work. And the show was a lot more fun when it was a down and dirty show about two girls living in New York and having misadventures while trying to search for the next high. That was the best the show ever got. I would say the first season is still the best season. The second season had some moments, but you know, there was a mixed bag at times. You could definitely see the production value had increased, but that kind of took away from the seedy atmosphere that I liked about it, the low budget feel that the first season had. But there were some really impressive intro sequences for the series, and even in the last season there was some really cool stuff, like the animation episode. Like, that was really ingenious and really inventive. But there was just a lot of episodes that just didn't quite click. But the two gals, they do an amazing job playing the broads, and I might talk about it a little bit more down the road, like leading up to season 5. But when it really started to just be like, fuck Trump, oh, I can't, Abby's like, no, I think, yeah, it's Alana. Alana's like, I can't come because of Trump. That was just stupid. There was just too many fucking things in it that were just tone deaf. The show does not know how to handle political humor because it just comes across as heavy-handed. But, you know, I had some fun with it. I definitely had fun revisiting the show and watching it. But I would have to say that it's a mixed bag. The first 2 seasons are the best. Season 3 and 4 is where it starts to go downhill. Seems like it just gets up its own ass a little bit too much and starts to just kind of... it buys into itself. You know, it's one of those things where it starts to sell out. It becomes a sellout and gets a little bit too up its own. Like, really, it's a perfect way to put it. It gets too up. It gets way too up its own ass. It's a little bit too pretentious at times, and just lost a lot of the luster that really made it such a fun show. But I'm still going to give season 5 a chance. It's just one of those things that I don't expect that much from it. I also checked out the stand-up specials of a comedian named Whitney Cummings. Her latest stand-up special, I'm trying to remember which I'm Your Girlfriend, or I'm Not Your Girlfriend, or something. That was pretty bad. So I watched the. I'm gonna look up her stand-up specials real quick, because I'm not going to say that much about them, because it's stand-up specials. Like, what's funny to one person might not be funny to another person. But yeah, she did I Love You and Money Shot, and I'm Your Girlfriend. That's what it was. Her most recent stand-up was I'm Your Girlfriend. There were some moments in it that were hilarious. Like, she talked about how there's this really dumb, stupid, recent popular thing in porn where apparently seeing girls gag is apparently, you know, having a cock in their mouth so far that they gag is sexy. And I like the fact that she pointed out how absurd that was by actually deep throating the microphone. So there were some moments where she really did bring it in that show, but for the most of the time, for the most part, it seemed like a show that was just a lot of complaining and whining, and a show that was, excuse my voice as it's breaking, but it seemed like it was just a show that just was very. It seemed like she was just berating people, and it came across as like a TED Talk instead of a comedian doing stand-up. It was not that good. The one previous to that, though, was pretty strong. I thought that was pretty strong stand-up special. I Love You. That was a fun one. And her first stand-up special was pretty solid too. Is Money Shot. It's just crazy how much she changed as a comedian after she did the show Whitney, and then after that she ended up doing her latest stand-up special, and it just, a lot of her edge and a lot of her energy just seemed to just have completely disappeared. So it's really too bad. But I like the first two specials from Whitney. I Love You. Yeah, I Love You, and Money Shot. So yeah, I checked out those stand-up specials. Those were fun. I also saw a few things because I was spending some time with my mom, so I watched Bridesmaids again because she didn't mind the movie. That film does not hold up that, like, it's okay, but like I didn't like it as much the most recent time around. I was kind of bored by it, and there were some nice gags here and there, but I don't know, it didn't really do it for me this time around. I saw the Netflix series Evil Genius, which is an amazing documentary series that I highly recommend you check out if you haven't already. I revisited Trading Spaces because they had a revival that came out this year. So I checked out those episodes with my mom. And it's just kind of a, fun time waster, really. A little bit of a nostalgia rush because I remember watching the show with my mom and my grandma when I was a kid on TLC. And so yeah, that's some of the stuff I've been revisiting, been watching. Like, this is kind of stuff. It's like I can't really talk that much about it. Like, what am I gonna say? What am I really gonna say about stand-up specials, Broad City, Trading Spaces, and a few other things? Like, there's not much I could say. But one more thing I want to talk about is the roast of Bruce Willis. I was looking forward to this because I personally feel Bruce Willis deserves a good roast. He's been acting more and more like an asshole lately. He's been doing just lazy-ass direct-to-video film roles. And so I was looking forward to seeing a bunch of people roast him. And sadly, this was a pretty lame roast. It really wasn't that great. There were some great roasters. Edward Norton stole the show with a long, just unbelievably pretentious, but at the same time effective takedown of Bruce Willis, while Edward Norton is comparing himself to Bruce Willis and his career. It was a brilliant takedown. If you're going to see the show, if you're going to watch the roast, at least check that out. It's worth a watch for Edward Norton's brilliant takedown of Bruce Willis. There's some other fun stuff too, like Sybil Shepherd, his co-star from Moonlighting, coming back and grilling Bruce Willis. She had some nice jabs at Bruce. There was also a really good beatdown by Jeff Ross. He's one of the best roasters, and he did not hold back, so that was fun. There were a few other lines and stuff from some of the other presenters, but that were fun, that were, effectively a burn, but there were a lot of them that just sucked. Why is Dennis Rodman here? He was not ready. He was not ready for prime time, and it showed. Dom Herrera just did a bunch of crass shit. He just said some crass shit, and that's it. Nikki Glaser was fucking awful. I don't know what she was doing. Sure, her shtick sucked. None of her jokes were good. Her stabs at Bruce were forgettable and lame. And she was the first one that came on, so that was not a good sign. Martha Stewart, why is Martha Stewart? I guess because she's Bruce's neighbor. But still, Martha Stewart, like, that didn't work. That didn't click. Little Ray Howery was clearly out of his comfort zone. He was nervous, and you could tell that he didn't want to go that hard on Bruce. Uh, there was a surprise cameo by Demi Moore, and she had some nice bites here and there, but it was just it wasn't really anything spectacular. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was a solid host, was a good roast master, and a good sport for the other people on the dais who were jabbing him as well. But yeah, I mean, really, it was a very, very mixed bag. I'm gonna say mixed bag. I mean, it was more bad than good, really. There was like a handful, like maybe 2 or 3, like especially Edward Norton and Sybil Shepherd and Jeff Ross, 3 really good roasters. The rest were average at best or downright awful. And then Bruce Willis himself sucked. When it was his turn to come on stage and fire back, he came across as awkward and unprepared, or on drugs or something. Like he was reading a teleprompter the wrong way. Like he starts off and he's all like, "Come to the coast, have a few laughs." It was just very stilted and weird, and there were times where he's supposed to roast some guy. Oh, I forgot. Kevin Pollak was also on the dais. I forgot for good reason, because he was forgettable. But he has to he's roasting his fellow friends, and he doesn't really go hard on them. Like, he has some really good insults, but he doesn't buy into them. It doesn't sound genuine, and it doesn't help either when after some of them he's like, I'm sorry. Don't apologize, Bruce. Don't be a fucking pussy. You're talking about how you're this great action hero and you're a badass. You ride out on stage on a motorcycle and it's your turn to fire back, and you're saying you're sorry. You're apologizing. I mean, it was disappointing. It was really disappointing to see Bruce just flounder so much on stage after a very middling, disappointing roast. And then Bruce Willis gets on stage and totally bombs. It's wow. He didn't look like he was really trying that hard. And it shows. I mean, he's not trying that hard anyway with a lot of his film roles. And then he ends it with that awkward statement where he's like, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. It's a fucking Bruce Willis movie. You know, and then he's like, yeah, everyone's supposed to celebrate and be happy, and I don't know. I mean, it's still a Christmas movie. It's a Christmas movie, Bruce. And it's also a Bruce Willis movie, but it's also a Christmas movie. I'm sorry. I don't care if you say it's not a Christmas movie. It is a fucking Christmas movie. It takes place on Christmas. It snows at the end. Let It Snow plays at the end credits. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on the roast of Bruce Willis. I mean, I was looking forward to it because you got Bruce Willis, and there were some nice. I only laughed out loud 3 times during the entire roast, and that's not good. You don't want that when you're watching a roast. You want to be laughing your ass off every few minutes or so, and that's not what happened with this one. This is a pretty forgettable, disappointing roast. The set was pretty cool to look at, and the tribute they did to Bruce was cool, but I wish they would include some footage from films like The Last Boy Scout, but, you know, didn't include that. And there's the typical sort of jabs at, like, Hudson Hawk and a few other things, but overall, just, if you're a dire fan of Bruce Willis, I guess check it out once, but if you're not, and you're not really a fan of roasts, then I would just say skip it, really. But anyway, I don't know what else to say, except to give you another heads up on what's coming up next. I got an episode of The Watch List coming out, talking about Go-Go 13. I got a mini rant on what I like to call replacing the impossible, and which is all about, well, actually it's more about recasting the impossible, which is about recasting film roles for iconic film characters with different actors. I got a top 10 video about 10 TV shows that I personally feel were canceled too soon. and I got a review of Backdraft, and some more anime reviews of like Porco Rosso and Grave of the Fireflies, and the Mission Impossible films, and a few other things here and there. So that's kind of what's coming up next. New episode of Celluloid Nation. But yeah, that's what I got on the schedule. And anyway, I don't know what else to say except thank you for watching, and as always, I will talk to you later. See ya.